Chapter 10, Another Project Meeting. Eager to get started, Holly jumps right in and shares the research she has acquired through peer review articles and documents, statistical data collected, and her experience at the clothing store. Teddy dismisses the clothing store information. Teddy's contribution is a case he researched where a white teen in Harris County, Georgia, was killed by police. Holly knew where his discussion was going, but she wants to get some framework for the project before they go there. Holly's suggestion is to group the race project into 3 categories: social, economic, and political, and focus primarily on African Americans and Caucasian Americans. Teddy agrees, and they move on. So from our past discussions, we agreed to discuss issues openly and truthfully, correct? Begins Teddy. Yes, and I want to add respectfully, states Holly. Agreed. By the way, what is our safe word again? Pie. So under the category of, I will say this is social, why is there a group like Black Lives Matter as opposed to All Lives Matter, in your opinion? In my opinion, of course, all lives matter, but attention needs to be shined dramatically on the lives of Black people because there's an epidemic of cases where Blacks are beaten and killed unnecessarily by either poorly trained police officers or racist officers. And trust me, I do believe most cops are decent and do their jobs in a fair manner. Well, like I said, there are white people killed by police too. I'm sure there is, and if it's unjust, the judicial system should prosecute and convict them. I heard of the case of Nicholas Deiskma in Harris County. The officer, I believe, broke his neck. Yeah, but there are other cases as well. Well, tell me, in your opinion, what do you think about Walter Scott, pulled over for a broken taillight, dies when Officer Michael Slager shoots him in the back several times? Or Eric Gardner, selling cigarettes and dying from a police chokehold? Freddie Gray's offense is carrying a switchblade and he dies. Fernando Castile, pulled over for a traffic stop, shot by police in Minnesota after telling police he was a registered gun owner. James Blake, tennis player, is slammed down on the ground by police because of mistaken identity. Sandra Bland. Okay. You want to know my opinion? Well, in some cases, they were doing illegal activities, interrupts Teddy. So minor illegal activities deserve the death penalty in your mind. Hey, I'm sorry, but they should do the right thing or stay out of trouble. Holly wants to laugh at his hypocrisy, but this is a serious issue to her. Teddy, is underage drinking, drugs, and sexual abuse the right thing? I would think these are major illegal activities in comparison with the minor traffic stops, pocket knives, and cigarettes I talked about. He takes a deep breath and determines if he wants to call pie, but he thinks for a moment. I believe if you're smart enough to understand the law and there is no evidence of wrongdoing, then it is fine, offers Teddy with a smug look on his face. Holly is well aware of his insult, but continues. It's fine? Are you kidding me? Well, if you are smart enough, you would realize most of the Black cases I just mentioned to you don't make it to the flawed judicial system. They die out on the street for these minor illegal activities, if in fact these activities were illegal in the first place. Teddy takes a deep breath. Okay, It seems a bit tense now, so I think it's a good time for a bathroom break. I'm fine, but please take a bathroom break if you need to. Teddy gets up and leaves, and Holly walks around the room. In Holly's mind, this is another sign of her moving away from her carefree zone. The cases she researched were bothersome and horrifyingly unbelievable. Even though Teddy and Holly obviously see issues completely different, Holly found value in the openness of the conversation. Teddy returns and sits down with his cell phone out. Did you know that back in 1917, German Americans were abused for being German by a group called the American Protective League? Starts Teddy, reading information from his cell phone. I don't know what that is or what that has to do with. The APL worked with the federal law enforcement to keep an eye on German Americans in very unlawful ways. My point being, some white groups have also suffered, interrupts Teddy. Holly looks up the American Protective League on her laptop and reads the summary. She found the summary interesting from a different perspective. History repeating itself and how the APL members stood to profit from the war economically and politically. I still don't agree with a movement that singles out only Black Lives Matter or these concepts of white privilege. We all have problems, states Teddy. Furthermore, all those marches and demonstrations are worthless. They are a waste of time and they never accomplish anything. There is value in marches and demonstrations, mainly to ensure their voices are heard. But if there is not action such as voting, getting involved in the community, etc., then it is pointless. I still think it is all pointless. Well, that's fine. We choose to disagree. Why don't we move on to economics, offers Holly. Sounds good. Let's talk about money, 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 agrees Teddy. That reminds me, I have an economics exam coming up. You wouldn't happen to have an old econ exam floating around in the fraternity, asked Holly. I don't know. I'll check. But make sure you keep these copies on the down low. No problem. Okay, let's see. I have some numbers on the population ratio Black to white, unemployment rates, and some on welfare data, says Holly as she's looking through the files on her laptop. Okay, I found it. Holly pulls out some papers from a folder and slides them over to Teddy. He picks them up and evaluates them. So this information is from the Economic Policy Institute. There are about 325 million people in the United States. About 62% of them are white, and about 13% are Black, explains Holly. Okay, if we round it, let's say 200 million are white and 42 million are Black. The rest are Native American, Hispanic, or Asian, which are not part of our research project, adds Teddy. Correct. Okay, my research shows that the unemployment rate for Blacks in 2016 was about 8.4%, and for whites, it was about 4.3%. So, in your opinion, why do you think the unemployment rate of Blacks is twice as much as whites? Well, I think there are many factors. Personally, I am going to prepare myself educationally, network as much as possible, and do whatever it takes to be employed, even if I have to start my own business, Holly explains intensely. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. I know. It's a difficult question for me. I have a friend, Ajani, from Africa, who can barely speak English, but his work ethic was so impressive to me. I find it hard to talk about other factors for Black high unemployment rates, like access and discrimination. Well, some factors may be public assistance, welfare, and people don't want to get off of it. But I see in this data that 39% of the people on Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, are white. Yes, a lot of white people are on welfare. Some reports indicate they are the majority on assistance. Believe it or not, I think that is a true statistics, offers Teddy as he flips through the data. Wow, I really wasn't expecting that. Hey, I like this open, honest, and respectful discussion, offers Teddy as his eyes remain on the data sheet. Both are quiet for a moment as Holly looks up information on her laptop and Teddy continues to flip through some papers. Holly breaks the silence. I think there is some credence in the social class in getting opportunities. If you are low income, your networking is mainly with individuals who don't have the capacity to lead you to better opportunities. On the other hand, if you are in a high income bracket, your networking is basically right next door. It will probably lead to better connections and better opportunities. So the rich get richer and the poor remain poor, added Teddy. In some cases, that is true, but many Blacks have successfully made it through the obstacles placed in front of them and have done well for themselves. You are so optimistic. Hey, like my papa used to say, don't stop, keep it moving. There is a bang on the door. A security guard comes in and notifies them the building is closing and will be locked in 5 minutes. Holly and Teddy gather their notes and pack their bags quickly. Teddy indicates he would like the data sheets Holly provided, and she is fine with it. As they leave the building, it is dark outside. As the two walk in the same direction, they discuss their teacher, Mr. Dayton, and the sociology class. They recall the first days of class and how Roya seemed afraid of Teddy. Holly explained the hijab represents modesty around males, which Teddy didn't realize. They both agree the class is getting interesting. They change the subject to the fashion show. They talk about the outfits they will be wearing. The conversation is so engaging, they are already in front of the fraternity house. For safety's sake, Teddy offers to walk Holly to the steps of her apartment, but not to her door. He doesn't want to run into Laura, who he mistakenly has called Linda twice during the walk to the apartment. In Chapter 10, Holly and Teddy get down to some serious research. They discuss Black Lives Matter and white privilege. In the comments below, give your opinion of what you think of those two concepts. See you in Chapter 11.